Welcome to What's in the Box episodes of horror with Donna and Eric. I'm Donna,
And I'm Eric.
and today we are continuing our Texas AuthorCon interviews, and we have with us Chase Will. Thanks for
Hey
joining us,
everybody,
Chase.
thank you for having me.
Oh, glad you
Yeah,
could make it.
yeah, we just saw you at AuthorCon in Williamsburg,
hmm
so that was
That
a
was a
fun
really fun
time.
time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
was great.
Now, how long
I seen
did
so
you
many
stay
people.
afterwards? Like, because I know you stayed like a few days later, because I saw
Yeah,
your posts
actually,
on.
I think I stayed 4 days afterwards. I made like a writer's retreat for myself because I was trying to
Oh,
finish a new project. So I was like, I'm just gonna burrow in a hotel for a couple days and do the Jack Torrance thing.
Oh, that's really
nice.
cool. That's smart. I got in a car right away and drove home, so I would have rather hung out and stayed there for a
Yeah,
couple of days at least. But
yeah, me
It's a
too.
nice area.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I thought it was really cool.
There weren't any hedge mazes though. I tried to find one.
We'll have to find a place that has a hedge maze and do a con there then.
Yeah, we might be able to get you. We might be able to find some sort of maze here for you. It may not
Yeah.
be as fun though, but
All right. So we're going to start off with some icebreakers. Don't think too hard. Just whatever hits your mind first. Jason or Michael? Who's your or Freddie? Who is your favorite?
Ready?
yeah,
Freddie. Wow,
it's
that was
funny. Initially, it was just Jason Michael, and
mm,
you'll be the third person we've discussed this with. The second person immediately jumped to Freddie, and so I said, "Oh, we better add Freddie to this thing." And then
yeah.
here he is. You have cemented that. Now I know for a fact we need
Yeah.
Freddie on there.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
didn't even hesitate. You're like, Freddie.
Well, he's the only one who's a talker. The other ones are silent killers, which is
Hmm.
scary, but like I like Freddy's cheesiness sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
especially when you get to the later, his sarcasm is perfect.
and his
Yeah.
taunts, the way he taunts his victims sometimes with like, "Oh, come here, don't you want a cigarette?" And the
Yeah,
was that three Dream Warriors where he
yeah,
was
the
I think
best. Well,
so. Yeah.
yeah, and
He's
that's
like
the
really
thing though,
mean
is because
spirited.
in my mind, the first and the third are the best. They are the ones. You could
Oh
just
yeah.
have those two movies and be perfect. But
mm,
he does from four on. It is Freddie 100%. The way he carries himself, the way he delivers his lines that makes those movie watchable. Because some of them are, when you get to the end, it's really bad. It's
Oh yeah.
terrible. But
Freddy's
yeah,
dad was the worst.
one and three are so perfect that it outweighs it and it adds to the heft of it. In my mind, it's Jason. I'm team Jason all the way. I love Jason. So, but I think I love Jason not because of Jason 100%, but because I enjoy all the movies. I think all of them are really fun to watch. So
Oh,
even
those are great
Jason in
movies.
space. Was it
yeah,
Jason X where he was in
Jason. Yeah,
space?
yeah, I'm all for it. I'm all for that.
I wanted him to meet Leprechaun in space while he was up there because they both had
Yeah,
space movies, them and
that's right. I
Critters.
mean,
They
that
could have
would
all
have
had
been
a
awesome,
crossover.
right? And we needed the crossover we didn't know we needed, but we
Right.
definitely need one, right?
Chase, you need to write that book.
Oh,
There you
I'm not.
go.
I'm on it. Getting the
That would be
rights.
awesome. That would be awesome. All right, and staying in the same kind of idea, are you team vampire or team werewolf?
Werewolf.
Yeah,
I'm a hairy man. Gotta be.
there you go. Yeah, no, I am too. If you put a werewolf in a movie, I will go watch it. I am 100%. I am not a huge fan of vampires, and I don't know why, but there's only a few vampire movies that I think are even watchable. So,
And
I think
now
you and I
even
talked about 30 Days of Night, didn't we?
no, we did Jeepers Creepers.
Oh, Jeepers Creepers. Okay.
Yeah.
now even deeper into that question, are you bipedal werewolf or quadruped? Is that how you say 4 feet? So like a
No
wolf
idea.
looking werewolf or a
Are you
bipedal
like, yeah,
werewolf?
Wolfman or
Mhm.
or Wolf?
I never really
American
thought
Werewolf
about
in
that.
London or Dog Soldiers?
Well, American Werewolf in London is probably my favorite of the two movies, but I always picture werewolves on 2 feet for some reason.
Yeah, I'm a big Wolfman guy. I mean, I
Yeah.
love the original from Universal, and I even liked the remake with what is it, Benicio?
Oh yeah, it was a good movie.
Yeah, yeah, I enjoyed it. I know it didn't stick the landing for the audience, but I thought it was pretty cool. So, but yeah, those are the kind of werewolves I like. I kind of
Me
like them,
too.
with the clothes hanging off of them and running around and slap a werewolf in Victorian era, and I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I just don't know. There's just something about vampires that they're kind of boring. It's almost like Superman. I love Batman.
Yeah.
I love all those, but when I watch Superman, I'm always bored because he's Superman. Nothing's really
Yeah.
stopping him.
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of how I look at it when I look at vampires. Although you're
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
right,
just
30 Days a Night, and I think that's everybody's or a top 3 movie for almost everybody in the indie horror thing, is because they're not traditional vampires. They're more like, I don't know, they're like a force of nature or something. It's almost
Yeah,
like a pack of locusts coming in, but just vampire shape.
they're like really ghoulish too. Like the character
Yeah.
designs were just amazing.
Yeah, I really like that. I like the fact that they were very almost animalistic. And so then what are we saying? They sure felt like werewolves, just running in, doing what they wanted to do. They didn't, they're not planning, they're not saving. They don't have savings accounts, and they're not paying bills and driving cars and all that nonsense.
They don't have like that big villain speech at the end.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, they were just, in fact, when I got done with that movie, I thought I didn't love it as much as I thought I was going to, simply because I wanted more information on the vampires and why they were that way, because they were so unique and so outside the box. I was like, oh, I could have watched so much, like an older version where they go into their history and stuff. I would have enjoyed that a lot too. So,
Oh yeah,
but yeah, now 100% werewolves. If you slap it, I mean, I'll watch a terrible movie as we did. We watched Howling 2. Terrible movie, but
Oh,
you know
God.
it was cool
I'm
that there was
sorry.
werewolves in it. Yeah, we talked. We just released that episode today, so we're doing this recording on the 19th of April. So, yeah, and that's basically what we came to. It was a sorry thing that we had to sit down and watch that movie again.
Oh man,
Yeah. Yeah. What did I don't know how to say his last name. Paul
Lubachowski,
Lubachowski? Okay.
I
Um,
think.
yeah, something like that. Brats from Hell is his book,
Mhm.
that I think his most recent book. Anyways, he posted something about it's werewolf porn, and I'm like, you're right, because where Howling 2, there was just nothing but boobs everywhere and
Yeah,
a werewolf orgy.
What year was that released? An '80s movie?
80,
87, I think,
yeah,
or
That was a
85,
crazy
80.
time.
87. It was something like that, and it was done over in Soviet-controlled Eastern Europe. And so they were all for all the stuff they were doing that was sacrilegious and stuff, because the Soviets, they don't want anything positive about religion. So they were like, yeah, go in that church and do all this. Have your werewolf orgy in this church. They were all excited about it. So, and the church
Wow.
was excited about it because they were then allowed to contact the head church and have somebody come to bless everything because of the stuff they did in Howling 2 inside the building. So then they were able to have, their leaders come and be able to be, I guess, however you want to word it, more churchly, and have
More
those people
churchly.
there in an area where they normally aren't really allowed to do anything. So it was a weird little side note I read. That was the most interesting thing about Howling 2 in my mind, was some of the backstory and stuff. So,
Yeah, that was
but yeah, no, the
crazy.
movie's trash.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so speaking of movies, what was your favorite horror movie as a kid? And what's your favorite horror movie as an adult? Has it
Ooh.
changed?
It's definitely changed. I think Little Monsters was my favorite horror movie as a kid. And not really horror, I guess, but horror adjacent. I would watch it over and over again on tape till it
Right.
burnt out.
Was that
And
the
I
one with
guess,
Howie Mandel?
yeah, I didn't
Yeah,
know that until way later too.
yeah, that
It
was a
took me a while, and
great
I was like,
movie.
really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a crazy side. It's weird what he pops up in.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I guess my favorite one now is probably Evil Dead, the remake.
So you like the remake more than the original?
I think as a horror movie, it works better. The original is great on its own merits, and I really love the original. But as like a splatter movie, the remake was hilarious, gory. It was all kinds of things at once. Like the
And it
one
had a
guy
budget.
keeps getting torn up.
Yeah. And well, the remake works more, it's a little cleaner, I mean,
Mhm.
they had
Mhm.
the budget to do it. And so you don't have that filmed in the backyard feel, which is the whole reason Evil Dead 2 exists, right? I mean, that's just a remake of Evil Dead.
Mhm.
They got a little bit more money, they got a little bit more sophisticated with the special effects. But yeah, no, I agree. I think the Evil Dead remake's one of the best remakes. And I hate remakes, some
Yeah.
movies I won't go see, and when they remake them and stuff, because there's I've never seen the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. But Evil Dead one, you're right, it is a really good movie.
I'm
Uh,
excited for the new one coming out tomorrow.
yeah, no, that does. Yeah, it looks really interesting. And I've seen a lot of people posting about how they're worried about different factors in it, but they're fingers crossed that it'll be pretty good. So
Mm.
Yeah, I love the Evil Dead remake. It was one of the only movies, scary movies in a theater that made me wish I was not in the theater watching it.
no, that's yeah, those are the best movies to see.
Yeah.
you know. So
I took a girl on a date to see that, and she judged me afterward. She's like, "What the
Oh.
hell is wrong with you?"
yeah. That's one where you really needed to vet that one right there before you pick that
Yeah.
as the movie. Yeah.
Well,
Saved
now
a whole lot
see
of
you.
trouble.
Yeah, see, I was gonna say, you got that out of the way, and you're like, well, see you later next.
Yeah. Swipe left.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. So
Yep.
all
That's
right.
crazy.
So our next question is, when you meet somebody, so like this person you took on the date, what would be your recommendation to introduce them into horror? What's your like go-to book to say, hey, this is what you should read to kind of dip your toes into the horror realm?
It would depend on what kind of horror, whether it's splatterpunk or more like mainstream. But I would say for like the average person to get them into reading, I would go to either Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. I know it's an older book, but it's the perfect, dipping your toes in because it's gothic horror. Or I would go to Stephen King's It.
Pull out the big one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Read
mean,
this 600-page book.
yeah, dip your toes in. But
Yeah.
I
it's like
think,
it's terrifying, but it's also like it's manageable terror.
Right.
yeah.
Right. No, I think there are parts of it that are genius, and there are some parts I just hate. So I always struggle with it because there are some of
Yeah.
it that I love, especially with and the movies. The movies actually do a perfect job of showing it. The first movie that they did in the remake is darn near perfect, and I
Yeah.
hate the second movie.
Everyone says that, but I love the second movie.
Hate it. I
Why
hate
does
So
everybody
it.
hate it so much?
I think it's the adults. I think it's the way he writes the adults. I think it's the way that the adults are portrayed in the thing. Um, I think it loses some of the magic. And then I think the ending is a little flat, even in the
Yeah.
book. And that's a problem I have with Stephen King, is that his endings can be flat. And
It's
so
funny he
he's
joked about that in the movie too.
right. And so then you're like, but like I've seen the remake of the first movie a couple of times, but I saw the other one in the theater and was like, no, we're not. I probably never see this again. So,
Mm.
but are either one of those your favorite book, or what's your favorite
Um,
horror novel?
my favorite horror novel that I've read more than any other one is probably The Books of Blood by Clive Barker or Hellbound Heart by Clive Barker. I'm a big
uh,
Barker fan.
Oh, that's cool. We did Hellbound Heart for one of our first episodes on here.
I think it
So,
was our first
I
episode.
think it was too. So
Yep.
yeah, that's the only one I've read by Barker. So I am
It's like a soul punch of a book. I mean, it's so fast paced. It's very minimal with words, and it hits hard. It's perfect writing.
Yeah, I think that would be a good jumping off point as well for somebody who wants to get into a little bit more darker horror, because I don't consider the Hellbound Heart itself, the book. I don't consider that splatter punk or anything like that, or even extreme. I think it's I just think there's less blood in the book than there is in the movie.
yeah.
Oh,
That
When you
makes
compare the
sense.
two, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So, it was a good story. I just had that one issue with the book doesn't explain who Kirsty is, and that really bothers me even to this day.
Yeah, they changed her relationship to it wasn't her dad in the book. I think it was her friend.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but
She
you
just
don't
works
even
at the
know.
office.
Yeah, or something. It's like, who is Kirsty? Like, who is she? Your coworker, your student? Like, who is she? But
Yeah, but I do think it lays the groundwork for some of the reemergence of splatterpunk and extreme horror. Yeah, I don't
yeah,
think without Barker, we don't have that blip in the early '90s, mid '90s of that extreme horror coming back. I don't think.
yeah.
So no, I think it's a great book. And I think Donna's right. I think that would be another one that you could throw on there if they don't want to dive into. How long is it? I thought it was 1,000 pages. Is it?
Yeah, it's around 1,000.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that might be daunting in this day and age. You back then that seemed like a normal book almost. And I read a lot of
Yeah.
fantasy, so to me, 1,000 pages doesn't seem like it's a big deal. Everybody seemed to do that in the fantasy world, but yeah, nowadays it might be too daunting for people to jump into it.
I would
I'm
hand them the
shocked.
Wheel of Time series just to see the expression on their face.
Oh, that's my favorite series. I love the Wheel of Time. I
like
mean,
12,
that's it.
13,000 pages.
Yeah,
Yeah,
my
there you
best
go.
friend actually gave me that set, and I have yet to even unwrap it.
Oh, it's something to behold. It's great.
Is it hardback or paperback?
Paperbacks.
I'm about to say that's heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've got, and yeah, if I fanboy about anything, it's Wheel of Time. I've got hardback, paperback. I've got cassette tapes of it, so I can
Oh
listen
my
to it when I'm
gosh.
mowing and stuff. And it's abridged, so you lose a lot in that. But I have some CDs of it. I love the Wheel of Time. So yeah, no, it's a great. That's to me, that's almost the perfect fantasy setting. It
Yeah.
takes what Tolkien does and just goes, and it's just amazing. So
It
yeah,
turned me on to Brian Sanderson too.
yeah,
Mistborn.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So, and the fact that the fact that he could write so perfectly in Jordan's voice, I thought was amazing. Just shows you how talented he is.
That
And,
was great.
I mean, the fact that they have like a library of all the because Jordan got sick while he was writing, and he stopped writing, and he basically did like a timeline of everything that was going to happen. And there's people that basically work in this building, or at least until they finish the books. And Sanderson would have to call him up and go, I need everything you have on this character. And then they would go through it and pull out all his notes, and they'd send it to him. But I mean, it's like a room full of like a library with little cards and stuff.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's an interesting, the whole story about the way Jordan wrote those books and everything up to it, and his ideas after the fact, because he had series planned after, but he never could get to the end, and then he passed away. So then I'm shocked that his wife hasn't farmed that stuff out to other fantasy writers and started building on that mythos. But there's supposed to be a ton of stuff there. So
wow, the guy was very prolific.
yeah, he was, and his Conan stuff is amazing too. If you're a big Conan the Barbarian fan, he's got like 3 or 4, and he does the movie novelization of Conan the Destroyer, and they're all really interesting, fun reads.
Sweet. I just had a conversation with somebody about Conan the other day. Like talking about how it was kind of for its time very much, and how you couldn't actually make that now, the movie at least.
Yeah, I could see that. Well, you can tell because they did make it. They got Jason Momoa or whatever,
Oh, they did do that.
and that movie's terrible. And
Yes,
so,
yes, it
yeah,
is.
it just doesn't capture. It's so difficult to capture what they were able to do. Oliver Stone, that's almost a perfect script for that kind of movie. And what's amazing is how many of those kinds of movies were around in the early 80s. If you go to the very end of the 70s and up to like 85, Sword and the Sorcerer, Conan the Barbarian, Conan the Destroyer, you had horror. The guy from Howling 2. Remember, he was in that Tor Barbarian movie.
Right.
That popped out
Yep.
at the end of 85 and stuff. Tons of those kinds of movies. I'm surprised that we're not seeing a rebirth of it, as everything goes in cycles. So
Yeah.
And with CGI, you'd be able to get away with it much easier now. But I think that Conan the Barbarian movie doing so bad kind of made people step back.
I think the action adventure movie is coming back soon. I think that's going to be the next rise in movies.
Yeah. I mean, I just saw Dungeons and Dragon, and
Was
it's
that
kind of
good?
got that. Yeah, it's, I don't know how to put it. It's not earth shattering. It's not breaking anything, but it's entertaining. And if you know anything about D&D, you'll pick up on little, like my wife had no clue what was going on half the time. I was turning around like, oh, that's for this book, or this is this. And she's just like, I'm here for the popcorn, kind of thing. But even at the end of that, she thought it was, entertaining enough and stuff. And it's a good heist movie. If you like heist movies, and then the difference is, instead of it being Ocean's 11, they're all wearing costumes, and some of them can do magic. So, but yeah, no, I thought it was a decent, I could see it becoming a franchise easily.
Really?
How do you not, who doesn't like Chris Pine, I mean, he's just charismatic, and he's just doing the same character he does in every movie. So
Yeah, isn't Michelle Rodriguez in that?
yeah, and she's doing the exact same character that she does in every movie too.
Yeah.
But she doesn't have a gun in this one; she just has a sword or whatever. So, but yeah, no, it was very, I don't know. I'm having a tough time the last couple of years at the theater. Just being blown away by anything. But I haven't seen Cocaine Bear yet, so I may be blown away by that. They just put it on Peacock if you have that. So it's
really?
like,
Oh, I'll have to check that out.
And the way I looked at it is when they did like Halloween, when they were doing the Halloween movies for like $5 that month, you can go watch it for, you can get Cocaine Bear and whatever else they're streaming at way cheaper than going to Amazon and renting it or buying it,
Yeah.
So right
I was
now
about
it's
to
an
do
exclusive.
that.
Yeah. So
Save me
always
some
check always check Peacock, because for some reason they seem to be getting movies left and right. I don't know who owns NBC, but somebody in the theater business does too, because they're pumping movies over there constantly.
Did you see
Yeah.
that John Wick 4 by chance?
I have not seen the new John Wick.
Oh my God, dude. It's so
Is
good.
it? Is it? Yeah.
I have not seen any John Wick movies.
All right. So now we've completely, we're going to go off the rails and have to discuss this because how have you avoided the John Wick movies?
I don't
Those
know,
are
and
so
I love
fun.
Keanu Reeves too, so I just don't know.
Yeah. No, I
It's all
love,
gun fu.
yeah, it is
Gun
amazing.
Fu.
And what's great is that when the first one came out, nobody thought, I'm sure most people made fun of it. Everybody thought it was a joke. I mean, because it's Keanu Reeves. And it's so good. It is so entertaining and so action packed. I think you're right. I mean, how does John Wick not create a new resurgence in action movies?
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm dying to see 4. I just haven't had an opportunity to. So
It's a time investment, but it's worth it.
yeah, I have a feeling it's one of those that when it comes on Amazon or whatever, or the Blu-ray, we'll get it so that we can split it up a little bit. Um, yeah, so
I took us way off the rails. I
that's
Yeah,
okay
apologize.
though.
that's
That's
okay.
exactly what we want to do because that you're right. We need some John Wick in our lives, and people need to go to Peacock and watch Cocaine Bear. So, so let's get back on the thing. Primarily, we're a horror podcast, but I know not all the guests coming on are going to be horror centric. You do
Mhm.
have some horror stuff, but is that the genre you prefer to write in, or do you have another genre that you like to do?
Horror is actually where I started as a kid. Like I was obsessed with it. It's everything I wanted to do was just write horror, tell horror stories, spook the hell out of my little cousins. So I think horror is where my heart always will be. And I kind of expanded more into young adult books and adventure kind of things. But horror is probably preferred. Like when I sit down to write and I write well, it's usually horror.
Yeah, I have the same experience. It doesn't matter what it is. You could ask me to write anything. I will sit down with the idea to write in that genre, but at the end of the day, it's going to be a horror piece. So, because I find horror in everything. So it's just, that's what it is. So even if I told you I wrote, like I just finished a story that was a Western, but it's not a Western, it's a horror.
It's a
It's a
horror
horror story
western.
that's going to be in a Western setting. So um, now at the table, what are you going to have for people to check out?
I'm glad you asked. I will have Birthday Girl, my Ash Crowlin splatterpunk book. Ash Crowlin is the name I use for splatterpunk books. This book is about a group of high school teens who summon a demon with a Ouija board, and mayhem ensues. It's very gory, not for the faint of heart.
Yeah, no, when you were telling me about it at Scares, I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. How have I missed that? How did this sneak past me? So yeah, I immediately had to grab a copy of that. I thought that was great.
And it's currently banned on Amazon too for some reason. I was like, really? This book got banned?
I know when I posted the picture with Totoro, and then somebody's like, Donna, you were like, I can't
Yeah.
find it. And I was like, you know what? I can't find it either. That's really weird. And then you're like, oh, it's banned. I'm like, what the heck?
It got banned twice because I put it back up. I just had like a different cover thinking they wouldn't notice. And then it got banned days later.
That is crazy.
It
It
is
makes you
available
wonder.
on Godless in ebook. That's where
Yeah,
I
all
got
links
it.
will be below so you guys can find it, and everybody needs to go check it out.
And then I also have my teen book, Moving Through. It's a coming of age novel about a group of high school seniors mourning the death of their mentor while starting a school-wide rebellion. This one is a little bit thicker, as you can see,
Mm.
and it's more to the heart, I guess you would say. It's not a horror book. It has some horror elements to it, but I think this one really speaks to grieving process and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I've heard really good things about it, and and I think just the idea, the grieving process is horrific in my mind. So
Mhm.
I think it'll probably fit in perfectly with all the other stuff. It just won't be as gory. So, but I've heard nothing but good things about that book.
And then I'll have I said 8 copies. And then I'll have copies of Tales from the Monoverse, a collection that I'm featured in with my story Blind Love.
Okay.
Every story in the collection is about a monochromatic universe where color either doesn't exist or color is rare. And my
Oh,
story is about a guy who sells his colored eyeballs for money.
Oh,
oh, that's
yeah.
it. The
Is
whole
that
idea was interesting, and then you just took it up a
yeah.
notch. So
Was that
very
Last
cool.
See, that's what
Waltz?
happens.
Was that Last Waltz?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Because I remember seeing that submission call, and I was like, that is very interesting. I just missed the submission deadline.
It was a good one. I read a bunch of the stories in there, and they're all really good.
Nice. I'll
Very
have to
cool.
grab a copy of that because I haven't
Now,
gotten a copy yet.
You said you were working on a project. Are you going to have that ready for the event, or do you think it's going to be sometime after that?
I should have it ready by July, so hopefully, fingers crossed. Depends on how lazy I get between now and then,
Yeah, I
because
know, right?
that is a factor for me.
Yeah.
But if I buckle down and get it done,
All right, so everybody, there you go. There might be something secret, something special at the table. You have to come by and check it out as you go by, anyways, to get Birthday Girl, because everybody needs a copy of something banned on Amazon.
That's
So,
right. And speaking of being lazy, so if you listen to music while you write, what music motivates you the most and gets those words pumping out of your fingers?
usually Nine Inch Nails album, The Fragile specifically, because that's
Oh,
really, it's got a soundtrack to it. It's not just like a rock album. It's something that's very, it's almost piercing the skin through the ears. It's just pure emotion, and I like that when I'm writing.
didn't he do that? Didn't he go on to just start doing scores and things of that nature? So it kind of
Yeah,
feels like he was establishing himself that way when he was doing his rock stuff, and then he's just kind of transitioned. So now you can go find the same kind of feel, but without the words, I guess. So
yeah, like I
yeah,
kind of have to have background music when I write. I can't do what other people do, where you have like just a soundtrack with no words playing, or you have like ambient noise or something. I tried it and I can't do it. I have to have like music.
yeah. A lot of times that's what I do have is just a score. Depending on what I'm writing, I listen to a lot of spaghetti western soundtracks while I was working on this newest project, but Pirates of the Caribbean scores, things that have
That's a good one.
that epic, that ups and downs, like a Gladiator. And one I love to do is Lord of the Rings, the animated
Oh,
score.
it's a beautiful score.
Yeah,
Oh, the
and
animated version.
yeah, the animated one. I listen to the regular one, the live Peter Jackson stuff, but I like to dig deep and go into that one. Because that, I don't know, it must trigger something from when I was a child, because that was one of my favorite movies as a kid, and that music, I can, as I'm listening to it, I can replay the whole thing. So I'll be surprised if some of my books aren't just Lord of the Rings, but set in a different backdrop or whatever, and they're like, wait a minute, this Frodo, what is this guy? So. But yeah, no, and I think it takes something special to be able to write, because sometimes when I have people talking, singing, that's all I start listening and focusing on that. I'm surprised that doesn't make it into stories too. Um, so I think it's really cool that you can do it with the actual noise going on like that.
yeah, I see.
Yeah, it's
I'm the
got to be
complete
loud rock.
opposite. I am the complete opposite of pretty much everybody I've talked to that writes. I have to have complete silence.
Oh, I can't do it.
Like I cannot have any background noise like the TV or radio or anything. I have to, just like it's the same when I'm working because I work from home. I prefer to have like everything off. I work from home. I don't have the TV on all day um, until, the little one gets home from school and then the TV goes on. But I have to have silence. That way I can focus and concentrate. The quieter it is, the more words I can bang out.
Well, I've been married for quite a long time, and my wife has to have something on 24/7. She has something on while she's sleeping. I
Oh,
go in and
yes,
turn
yeah.
everything off. So I'm used to constant noise in the background. So a lot of times I'm putting headphones on and cranking up whatever I'm listening to just to drown out Gilmore Girls.
I
Oh
mean,
So
God,
I do have to have a fan on to sleep, so that's really the only time I really require noise. But
same
yeah,
that's like,
here.
yeah.
that's great, because I think I've done a little in silence, but even because of the girls, the Huskies, they make so much noise. And nothing's ever totally quiet here, but if I do silence, I'm gonna wander off. I'm like, I'm very easy, lured away, with a little noise here or there. So I don't think I could do it just totally silent.
Mm.
Yeah, I gotta have my silence, which is probably why I haven't gotten my
Yeah, I was
submissions
gonna
or
say, how do you get anything done? Because nothing's ever quiet anywhere, right?
I know,
So
right?
you got to fight through it.
Yeah, of course, and he's on vacation this week from school, so he's home. Plus, I'm working, and it's like, ah,
Do you guys write longhand or you type?
oh gosh, I type. Yeah,
Yeah, no, I do a little, where I write it out, but you can't read it. Well, half the time I can't even tell what I was doing. So I'm like, I don't know what this is
you're
anymore.
like, I bet you that was a great idea.
Yeah, I've had a
That's the
couple of
problem I
those.
have.
Yeah, I have a couple, and I'll like show it to my wife and go, any chance you might be able to figure this out? and she'll be like, I think this word might be cheese, and I'm like, okay, maybe this is just the grocery list. Maybe I didn't write anything down interesting. So, but yeah, no, I try to type everything out just so I have it. A lot of times, what I'll do is I'll text my wife the ideas. So she'll get random texts about people being beheaded or set on fire.
Oh my
or a
gosh.
line, or I'll do like a line of dialogue that I think's really cool, and I'll send it, but then it's just really out of place, and she's looking at it, trying to figure out what I'm talking about when I'm like, whatever I sent her. So, and I send them at all times of the day, so she'll get it like when she wakes up in the morning, or maybe at work, and it'll go off, and she'll look down, and it'll be some murder thing, and she'll just have to just put it aside. So
Smiley emoji.
but that way it's never lost, because if I something happened to my phone, she has it too, so I can always just go get it from her. So
That's so cool.
yeah,
So
what's
if her
even
phone's
better-
ever confiscated, like you
yeah,
have
I
to be
know. She's
really
like, what is all
careful
this?
Right.
Yeah,
These are my
that's the problem.
story ideas. So
Yeah.
Chase, do you type or do you
I
write?
prefer to write everything longhand first, but I type it out second. That's kind of like my second draft. But my problem is I have like doctor's handwriting where it's very small and very girlish and very unreadable. Like
Yeah,
if
that's
somebody were to
amazing.
steal my manuscript, like if somebody were to take my stuff and try to read it, I wouldn't have to worry about a thing because there's no way they could possibly read it.
They'd immediately be like, "This isn't code. We can't decipher,
Yeah.
the code. We have to go find the book that he's using, his cipher or whatever." So, yeah, no, that's really cool. That's commendable, because that is a lost art.
Art. Yeah.
People writing stuff, anything down anymore.
Yeah. So do you keep the longhand copies of your books?
Yeah,
Or
I try to.
do you?
The only time I lost one was when I moved out of my parents' house. My younger brother thought it was trash and just threw it away.
Ooh.
Oh, that's a bummer.
That was my first harsh critic.
Yeah, there you go. Right.
Yeah.
You can just always bring
This
that
is
up.
trash. Right in the bucket.
But luckily, I had it typed out after that point, so it was all good.
Oh, okay, that's cool. Yeah, that would suck. I mean, it's just like the people that type and then they're like, "I just lost the file." It's a kind of
Mhm.
that idea. So it's nice to have a backup that you don't have to worry about losing.
Yeah, see, so
Yeah.
another reason why I wouldn't do everything longhand is because I would, of course, also keep the notebooks that I write them in, right? Which would just add up and add on to my stacks and stacks and stacks of books that I have.
Yeah.
So I'd
My
have,
office here is just cluttered with tiny little notebooks all over the place. It's a mess.
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah. Little books I've got filled with ideas and stuff. There's my comfortably dark one from Candace.
Oh, that's sweet.
She gives the best swag.
Yep,
She
she does
does.
have a lot of good stuff.
I have swag envy.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So Chase, tell us, we know you're an author. You've already gone over your books. You can get your stuff on Amazon, except for Birthday Girl. Can you get Birthday Girl through your website? You said you have a
Yeah.
big cartel store, right?
Yeah, if you go to chasewild.bigcartel.com or just chasewild.com, it'll take you there.
Okay.
I
Or
also
can
have t-shirts too.
Oh, cool. And Birthday Girl, of course, can be found on Godless and ebook. But where else can we find you? Do you got a podcast or tell
yeah.
us more things that you're into?
Well, I host the Family Fright Night Horror Podcast. It's where I interview authors, actors, directors, painters, everybody in the arts industries, all about their favorite horror movie, first of all. And then I have questions about them as people, like them as fans. So it's I've had guests like, of course, Eric. I've had Triana. I've had Volpe. I've had Mick Garris on there once. Super cool dude. I've had Mallerman. I've had a lot of people on the show, and I think it's really fun. It's kind of chill and laid back, kind of like
Yeah, it's
this.
an amazing lineup. You've had an
Nice.
amazing lineup of people.
Yeah,
And it
Josh
is
Mallerman. That's a pretty big name. And
Yeah,
he's
no,
such a sweetheart. I met him last
Oh, yeah.
year.
and you do a really good job too. I mean, you're much tighter than we are when it comes to it, man. It was zoop, 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 and it was really good. It was a great experience and watch. So yeah, people definitely need to go. I guess subscribe and
Yeah, go to
Yeah.
put it
Spotify.
there. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's on Spotify.
Yeah, it's on most places that carry podcasts. Most podcast platforms have it. I almost
Oh,
sound
very
like an old man.
It's all right.
Does
We
Walmart carry
barely-
podcasts?
Does Walmart have
We're barely able to get this out. So we don't
Mhm.
understand half of what you're saying right now.
Yeah.
But
Spot of
And I'm
what?
also on also just started a TikTok recently.
Oh, I'll
because
have
I've
to
heard it's
follow
like the
you.
new thing. But yeah, I
Yeah.
started that, and it's been a challenge because I'm not that young anymore.
Oh my
Yeah, I
gosh,
know, right?
man. I joined TikTok and I was like, oh cool, I'll come on here and post my reviews, but I don't Eric's gonna call me a liar, but I don't like being on camera.
Oh, you're pretty.
Uh,
Come on.
thank you. Um, and I'm like, oh, post my book mail and stuff, but I hardly post anything on there. I think the last thing I posted was part of my haul from AuthorCon 2.
I saw
Um,
that.
yeah. But I got my best friend on there and she's like, oh, I'm too old for TikTok. I'm like, come on, whatever. Just watch the cat videos or the cow videos on there. She is like, I was sitting next to her at AuthorCon. We were and she was like doing all this fancy stuff on her video of her TikTok. She was like going to different timestamps in the video and like putting tags and captions and stuff. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, this is magic.
Yeah, I'm not brave enough to do TikTok yet.
Yeah, I'm
I'll
just
probably
like,
get into it right before it gets shut down. That's when I'll
yeah,
do it. So
yeah,
when you see me on there, know the end is near and
Right in that sweet
it's
spot.
gonna be gone. Yeah.
yeah. I just basically go on there to view my friends' stuff and get lost down the rabbit hole of, Highland cows and there's these videos of street fashion in Japan. And
Mm.
for some reason, I could watch them for hours. It's weird. I don't know.
You should
And
write
then,
to those.
yeah. Um, and then there's Best Fetch Dog, the guy who does White Women Ain't Scared of Shit. And it's all these videos about, it's a black guy and it's all about, like, he does stitches with videos of white women with like
With pit bulls.
dangerous animals,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, I've seen those.
and he like has this specific voice that he does for the white woman, and it's like hilarious. I could watch him all day. And he has this really awesome dog called Grunt, who is this huge mastiff, but he has him like do these, like, I know, totally off topic, sorry, like these awesome, like, he'll 6 foot tall dude, he'll have this dog jump and get the ball right off the person's head. Like
Oh
this
God,
giant mastiff. You're like, there's no way that dog can do that, but he does.
I'd be terrified to be that person.
Yeah, I know,
Right?
right?
Yeah. So yeah, we will have Chase, or we will be seeing Chase at Texas AuthorCon in July. It's a free event. We'll have a link in the description so that you can sign up on Eventbrite, because in order to be eligible for the door prizes, you do need to have an Eventbrite ticket. But again, it's free. Come on out, stop by Chase's table, say hi, pick up a book, especially Birthday Girl, because you want something that's banned. Um, and Chase, thank you so much for joining us. It's
Thank you for
been a
having me.
pleasure. Yeah,
It's been great. It's been fun.
Yeah,
yeah.
thanks for coming on.
Of course. See you guys.